Let me tell you something. Being alone is not a weakness. It's not a punishment. It's not something to fear. See, most people run from silence. They run from solitude. They think being alone means being lonely. But let me tell you the truth. Being alone is a power. When you're alone, you can hear yourself think. You can hear that still, small voice inside that the world tries to drown out with noise, opinions, distractions. When you're alone, you meet yourself, face to face. No filters, no masks, just you. And that's where your strength is forged. See, some of the greatest transformations in life don't happen in the crowd, they happen in the dark, in the quiet, when it's just you, the grind, and God watching. That's where discipline is born. That's where clarity is found. That's where you stop following and start leading, because you finally know who you are and where you're going. Being alone is not loneliness, it's self-discovery. There's a fundamental difference between solitude and loneliness, though people often confuse the two. Loneliness is a feeling of lack, a craving for connection that isn't met, a void that seeks to be filled. Solitude, on the other hand, is fullness. It is presence. It's choosing to be with yourself, not because you have no other option, but because you understand the value of your own company. When you are alone, truly alone, you begin to meet yourself in ways that the noise of the world never allowed. The world we live in moves fast. Notifications, conversations, obligations. We're surrounded by people, devices, expectations, voices, so many voices that we rarely stop to ask, what do I sound like? And when we do find ourselves alone, many are uncomfortable, even afraid, because now there's no distraction, now there's no escape from what's inside. But here's the truth, what's inside is where your power lives. It's where your real story begins. It's the soil of your character. When you choose to sit with yourself, to turn off the world and turn inward, you start a journey most people avoid, the journey of self-discovery. In solitude, the masks come off, the roles you play for others, the friend, the worker, the sibling, the partner. They fade, and what's left is just you. The real you, the raw, unfiltered, unpolished version that doesn't need to impress or entertain anyone. It's in that space that you start to notice things. You notice your thoughts, your patterns, your fears, your hopes. You start to question, to reflect, to analyze. And from that awareness, change begins, growth begins. Because you can't fix what you refuse to face. You can't evolve if you never pause long enough to see where you are. When you're alone, there's room for honesty, brutal honesty, the kind that doesn't come when you're trying to maintain an image, trying to be accepted or liked. You start to ask yourself real questions. What do I want? Who am I becoming? What am I running from? What am I truly capable of? These are the kinds of questions that don't get asked in the middle of a crowd. They get asked in the quiet, when it's just you and your truth. And there's power in that. Because once you understand yourself, no one can define you, no one can manipulate you or shape your path for you. You know where you're going and why. You stop following trends and start setting them. You stop looking for validation outside and start building it inside. That's when you move from being reactive to proactive, from being a follower to being a leader of your own life. Solitude gives you that gift. In solitude, creativity is born. Some of the greatest ideas, inventions, works of art, and solutions came from people who weren't afraid to step back, to disconnect from the world and connect with their own mind. In the stillness, the mind expands. Thoughts are not competing, they're flowing. You have time to think deeply, to explore ideas, to see possibilities you missed when you were distracted. Solitude is the breeding ground of innovation, of brilliance, of focus. When you are alone, you begin to understand your own worth, not in relation to others, not based on attention or applause, but in the simple fact that you are enough, just you. Not your achievements, not your followers, not your possessions, you. That's self-respect, that's self-love, and that's the foundation of confidence that can't be shaken no matter what storms come. There's also healing in being alone. The wounds we carry, the traumas we bury, the pain we ignore, it all rises in the quiet. And though that may feel heavy, it's necessary, because what comes up can be released. In solitude, you can process, cry, forgive, let go. You can rebuild yourself piece by piece in your own time, in your own way. No pressure, no pretending, just healing. People often fear being alone because they fear what they might find. But the truth is, what you find is yourself, and that discovery is the key to everything. Peace, purpose, power. When you know yourself, you stop fearing loss. You stop fearing change, because no matter what happens around you, you are grounded, you are centered, you are whole. Being alone allows you to set your own pace. No need to rush, no need to compare. Your journey, your rhythm. You can work on your goals without distractions, without interference. You become more productive, more focused, more aligned. You make decisions from clarity, not pressure, from intention, not impulse. In a world obsessed with constant connection, choosing to be alone is a form of rebellion. It's saying, I don't need noise to feel alive. I don't need company to feel complete. I am enough. And that mindset changes everything. It empowers you to walk away from what doesn't serve you, to say no without guilt, to create boundaries that protect your peace. Solitude teaches resilience. When you've stood alone, faced your fears, battled your doubts, and came out stronger, you carry a quiet strength. A strength that doesn't need to be loud or seen. It just is. That strength becomes your anchor in hard times. It's what keeps you steady when life tries to shake you. Through solitude, you discover your values, what truly matters to you, not what the world says should matter, but what you know in your soul is worth your time, your energy, your life. You become intentional. Every step has purpose. Every action has meaning. Being alone is a mirror. It reflects your truth. And while some may avoid that reflection, those who face it grow. Those who embrace it rise. Solitude is not a void. It is a space full of potential, full of wisdom, full of you. Solitude builds discipline and clarity. In the absence of noise, distractions, and external pressures, a person begins to confront the essence of who they are, what they want, and what they are willing to do to achieve it. There is no shortcut to growth, no magic formula to discipline. It is forged in moments where you choose to show up when no one is watching, when there's no applause, no recognition, just the grind, and your decision to embrace it. Solitude forces you into that space. It strips away the comfort of accountability partners, the motivation of peer pressure, and the crutch of external validation. You begin to rely solely on your will, your purpose, your why. When you wake up and no one is there to push you, when no one checks in to see if you stayed on track and you still move, still work, still pursue your goals, that's discipline. That's the kind of self-mastery that doesn't come from external structures, but from inner structure. And solitude creates the environment for that inner structure to be built. It puts you in charge. It removes excuses. There's no one to blame for distraction, no one to defer to. It's all you. And that's when real growth happens. Discipline is the ability to control your actions, your habits, your thoughts, in alignment with your goals and values. It is saying no when every part of you wants to say yes to comfort. It is showing up daily even when the spark is gone, when motivation runs dry, when the world tempts you to slow down. In solitude, you either rise or you fall, because you are accountable only to yourself. That pressure, that responsibility forces you to elevate, to find strength in your routines, to build consistency without applause. Clarity comes in those quiet moments, when your mind is not cluttered with voices, opinions, or distractions. It's easy to get lost in the chaos of the world, to follow paths because others are on them, to chase goals because they seem popular, not because they're right for you. Solitude clears the fog. It allows you to hear your own thoughts uninterrupted. It lets you ask, what do I truly want? Am I on the right path? Am I living with purpose or just moving with the crowd? In solitude, decisions become deliberate. You're not reacting, you're reflecting. You're not just busy, you're intentional. That level of clarity allows you to focus your energy on what truly matters. It eliminates the waste, the time spent on meaningless pursuits, the energy spent on things that don't serve your mission. You become more efficient, more precise, because your vision is no longer clouded by the opinions or distractions of others. Discipline without clarity is misdirected effort. Clarity without discipline is wasted potential. Solitude brings both. It sharpens your vision and toughens your will. You begin to act not out of emotion or impulse, but out of intention. You learn to delay gratification, to prioritize long-term gain over short-term comfort. That's discipline rooted in purpose. When you're alone, the temptations are different. There's no one to impress, no audience to perform for. You start to ask yourself, who am I when no one's watching? What do I do when left to my own devices? Those questions are uncomfortable but necessary, because discipline is not just about hard work, it's about self-control, the ability to govern yourself, to lead yourself, to hold yourself to a standard, especially when no one else does. Solitude reveals your weaknesses, exposes your excuses. It shows you where you rely on others to push you, to guide you. It forces you to take full ownership. You start to see your patterns, where you procrastinate, where you avoid, where you give in, and once you see them, you can change them. That's how discipline is built, through awareness, through intention, through consistent action. There's also freedom in discipline. A lot of people think structure limits them, that routine is a prison. But in truth, discipline is the key to freedom. It allows you to achieve your goals, to control your outcomes, to create the life you want. Solitude gives you the time and space to build that discipline without interference. It gives you control over your time, your habits, your focus. You are not reacting to the world. You are shaping your world. Clarity is what guides discipline. Without a clear vision, it's easy to burn out, to lose motivation. But solitude helps you refine that vision. It gives you the space to dream, to plan, to strategize, to align your daily actions with your long-term goals. You stop chasing everything and start focusing on the right things. You become intentional with your time, with your effort. That's how progress accelerates. Not by doing more, but by doing what matters. In solitude, your goals become personal. They're not about proving anything to anyone. They're not about external success. They're about growth, about purpose, about becoming who you're meant to be. That internal drive, born in solitude, is stronger than any motivation you can find outside, because it's yours. It's rooted in your truth. Your solitude allows you to reset, to disconnect from the chaos, to recharge, to refocus. It's in those quiet moments that you check your alignment. Am I still on course? Am I living in integrity? Am I becoming the person I want to be? Without solitude, it's easy to drift, to get pulled in 100 directions. But in solitude, you return to center. You recalibrate. You move with clarity and discipline. You also start to understand time differently. In solitude, you see how valuable your time is, how easy it is to waste it, how important it is to guard it. Discipline grows when you start treating time as your most precious resource. You stop indulging distractions. You stop chasing validation. You use your time wisely, purposefully. That awareness sharpens your actions. It makes every moment count. Solitude is uncomfortable for many because it demands responsibility. It removes the excuses, the blame, the distractions. But within that discomfort lies growth. Within that space, discipline is born. Clarity is found. You move from living reactively to living intentionally. You stop drifting and you start driving. You take control not just of your actions, but of your direction. You know where you're going and you have the discipline to get there. Power is forged in silence, not in crowds. There's a certain kind of strength that doesn't come from applause or attention, a strength that is born in the unseen moments, in the quiet struggle, in the daily grind that no one else notices. While the world celebrates the final product, the achievement, the success, the spotlight, it often overlooks the process that made it possible. That process, that transformation, doesn't happen in the noise. It happens in the silence, in the solitude, where you battle your own doubts, push past your own limits, and build yourself from the ground up. The crowd can be loud, exciting, even energizing, but it is not where true power is built. The crowd may motivate you, may validate you, but it cannot sustain you. Because when the noise fades and the people go home, all you have is yourself. It's in that space, when no one else is around, that you learn who you really are. You learn what you're made of. You learn how to keep going when the applause stops. That's where resilience is developed. That's where inner strength is tested and refined. In silence, you are stripped of distractions. There's no external energy to feed off, no opinions to sway your actions. You are left with your thoughts, your goals, your fears, your ambition. And it's in that environment that you have the chance to confront yourself fully and honestly. You can't hide from your weaknesses in silence. You can't avoid the truth, but that's the gift. The silence reveals what the noise concealed. It shows you where you need to grow. It challenges you to rise without a stage, to succeed without spectators. The power that comes from silence is not just physical or external. It's mental, emotional, and spiritual. It's the power to control your mind, to master your emotions, to remain steady in chaos. In silence, you practice patience. You develop focus. You train your mind to be calm, to be sharp, to be relentless. That mental toughness becomes your edge, your foundation. It doesn't fade when circumstances change, because it was built internally. It wasn't given, it was earned. Silence is also the birthplace of vision. In the noise, your thoughts are scattered, your attention divided, but in the quiet, ideas flow. You can see the bigger picture. You can plan, strategize, visualize your future without interference. That clarity of vision becomes a weapon. It allows you to move with purpose, with direction, with conviction. You are not swayed by the opinions of the crowd because you have your own path, your own plan, your own purpose. And you know that purpose was born in silence. The crowd often distracts. It can lead you to compare, to seek validation, to follow rather than lead. But silence grounds you. It brings you back to your core, to your values, to your truth. In that space, you don't need to impress anyone. You don't need approval. You operate from authenticity, from self-awareness. That's where power lies. In knowing yourself so well that nothing external can shake you. The world can change, people can leave, situations can shift, but you remain solid because your foundation was built in silence. In silence, you learn discipline. You learn to show up, to put in the work, to push through fatigue and boredom and doubt. You don't need a crowd to hold you accountable, you hold yourself accountable. That self-discipline, that internal drive is what separates those who talk from those who act, those who start from those who finish. It's easy to perform when eyes are on you. It's much harder to grind when no one is watching, but that's where greatness is formed. Not in public, but in private, in silence. The silence teaches you to be still, to be patient, to trust the process. Not everything needs to be rushed. Not every win needs to be posted. There's power in moving quietly, in working while others talk, in building without broadcasting. That silent work accumulates, and when the time is right, the results speak louder than any words. You don't need to announce your power. It becomes evident through your presence, through your results, through the energy you carry. There's also a spiritual depth to silence. It connects you to something greater, something beyond the surface of life. In silence, you can hear not just your own thoughts, but a deeper guidance, a wisdom that gets drowned out in the noise. That connection gives you peace, gives you confidence. You're not just chasing goals. You're aligned with purpose. You're not just moving. You're moving in the right direction, guided by something beyond ego, beyond fear. The crowd can be fleeting. It can love you one day and forget you the next. If your power comes from the crowd, then it can be taken when the crowd leaves. But power forged in silence cannot be taken. It's internal, unshakable. It travels with you no matter where you go. It is self-sufficient. That's the kind of power that lasts, the kind that endures storms, setbacks, and losses, because it wasn't dependent on anything outside of you. Silence also sharpens your instincts. Without the noise, you learn to trust yourself, to listen to your gut, to act decisively. You don't need approval to make moves. You know what's right for you. Because you've spent time with yourself, learning, reflecting, growing. That self-trust becomes a superpower. It allows you to take risks, to innovate, to lead without hesitation. You're not seeking permission, you're taking action, confidently and quietly. In the quiet, you also learn humility. You realize that real power doesn't need to be flaunted. It's not loud or arrogant. It's controlled, focused, humble. You don't need to prove yourself to anyone because you know who you are. That kind of power draws respect. It commands attention without demanding it. It's the difference between noise and substance, between appearance and reality. The world often underestimates those who work in silence. They don't see the preparation, the sacrifice, the long hours. But when the moment comes, when the opportunity arrives, those who have forged their power in silence are ready. They don't crumble under pressure because they've already faced pressure alone. They don't fear failure because they failed in private and learned from it. They are built for the moment because they've trained for it without needing recognition. Silence is not weakness. It is strength under control. It is power with purpose. It is preparation without distraction. The quiet moments are where you separate yourself, where you refine your craft, where you build the foundation for everything to come. It is in the silence that the future is shaped, not by chance but by choice, by discipline, by vision, and by the unwavering pursuit of something greater. When you walk alone, you learn to lead yourself. There is a unique kind of growth that only comes when you are forced to navigate life without a guide, without someone showing you the way, without anyone to fall back on. That's when leadership is born, not in a boardroom, not on a stage, but in the silent hours when it's just you, your decisions, your mistakes, and your lessons. Leadership isn't about control, it's about mastering yourself. And when you're alone, there's no one else to depend on, no one else to follow. You become the leader by default, and in that space you learn what it means to truly take responsibility for your life. Walking alone teaches you accountability. There's no one to blame when things go wrong, no one to shift the weight to. Every result is yours, good or bad. That pressure, that reality molds you. It forces you to look at your actions, your mindset, your choices. You start to realize that leadership starts with ownership. If you can't lead yourself, if you can't manage your time, your energy, your emotions, how can you expect to lead others? The journey alone exposes your weaknesses and challenges you to strengthen them. You have to become your own motivator, your own disciplinarian, your own support system. That's where true leadership begins. In solitude, you make decisions without influence. There's no committee, no crowd, no chorus of opinions. It's your judgment, your instinct, your values. And that's powerful because leadership is about decision-making under pressure with limited information in uncertain times. Walking alone trains that muscle. You learn to trust yourself, to analyze, to act decisively. You don't wait for consensus. You don't seek permission. You step forward even when the path isn't clear. That ability to lead with conviction in the face of uncertainty is forged in the moments when you've had to figure it out on your own. Being alone forces you to develop vision. When there's no one ahead of you, no blueprint to follow, you have to create the map. You have to see possibilities where others see limitations. You have to imagine a future that doesn't yet exist. That's what leaders do. They see what's possible and then work to make it real. Solitude gives you the space to dream, to think deeply, to connect with what truly matters to you. Without distractions, without noise, you can hear your own voice. You can define your own mission, and that mission becomes the fuel that drives your leadership. When you walk alone, you face fear head-on. There's no safety net, no backup plan. It's just you, standing in front of the unknown. Fear is a constant companion, but so is courage. And the more you face it, the more you learn to lead through it. You stop waiting for fear to disappear. You start moving in spite of it. That courage, that resilience is contagious. When others see you leading yourself through fear, through uncertainty, through adversity, they're drawn to follow. Not because you told them to, but because you showed them how. Walking alone also teaches humility. You make mistakes, you stumble, you fail. And with no one to shield you, no one to soften the blow, you learn to get up. You learn to adjust, to improve, to keep moving. You don't have the luxury of ego when you're leading yourself. You can't afford pride when progress is on the line. You have to be honest about where you're lacking and committed to growth. That humility makes you a better leader because it keeps you grounded. It keeps you learning. It keeps you focused on the mission, not on your image. In the journey of walking alone, you also learn empathy. You know what it feels like to struggle, to question, to doubt. And when you lead others, you carry that understanding with you. You don't lead from a place of superiority, but from shared experience. You've walked the hard road. You've faced the silence. You've felt the weight of leadership. That gives you a deeper connection to those you lead. They don't see you as distant or detached. They see you as someone who's been in the trenches, who knows the cost, who's earned the right to lead. Solitude also reveals your values. When you're alone, you're not performing. You're not putting on a show. You're living out what you believe day in and day out. There's no one to impress, just you and your choices. And over time, those choices define you. You see what you really stand for, what you're willing to fight for, what you refuse to compromise on. That clarity of values becomes the compass for your leadership. It guides your actions, your decisions, your vision. People follow leaders who are consistent, who are principled, who live what they preach. That consistency is built when you walk alone and stay true to your values. When you lead yourself, you become resourceful. You don't wait for help. You don't rely on someone else to solve your problems. You adapt, you innovate, you find a way. That self-reliance is a hallmark of leadership. It's not about having all the answers. It's about being willing to search for them, to try, to fail, to try again. That grit, that determination becomes your edge. It sets you apart. It shows others that leadership is not about position, but about action. Walking alone also strengthens your patience. Leadership is not about quick results. It's about staying the course, even when progress is slow, even when no one sees the work you're doing. In solitude, you learn to embrace the long game. You learn to plant seeds without immediate harvest, to build without immediate recognition. That patience becomes part of your leadership. It allows you to stay steady when others panic, to keep pushing when others give up. Because you've walked that road before, you know what it takes. You also learn to celebrate small victories. When you're alone, you don't have a cheering squad. You don't get praise for every step. But you learn to find satisfaction in progress, in growth, in personal milestones. That ability to self-motivate, to find joy in the process, is crucial for leaders. It keeps you energized. It keeps you moving forward, even when the journey is hard. When you lead yourself well, you naturally become someone others want to follow, not because you demanded it, but because you demonstrated it. Leadership by example, leadership through action, leadership through perseverance. That's what inspires. That's what moves people. And it all begins with walking alone, with embracing the silence, with leading yourself through the challenges, through the uncertainty, through the grind. When all is said and done, when the noise fades and the distractions fall away, what you are left with is yourself. That's the truth that most people try to avoid. We surround ourselves with people, with movement, with noise, not because we need it, but because we fear the silence, we fear the stillness, we fear what we might find if we are left alone with ourselves. But in that fear lies the truth. Being alone is not a weakness, it is a power. It is a power so few tap into because it requires something rare. The courage to face yourself, the courage to sit with your own thoughts, the courage to walk through life without needing constant validation, without needing someone to hold your hand, without needing applause for every step you take. There is a power in solitude that no crowd can give you, because in solitude you become complete. You don't rely on someone else to tell you who you are. You don't depend on someone else to push you, to believe in you, to pick you up. You learn to do that yourself. You learn to build from within. And when your strength comes from within, when your confidence is born from what you've endured alone, when your mindset is forged in the silence, then nothing outside of you can break you. The world can try, life can throw everything at you, but you won't fold, because your foundation isn't built on external things. It's built on the battles you fought when no one was watching. It's built on the days you got up without anyone telling you to, the nights you worked while others slept, the discipline you enforced when no one was checking on you. That's the essence of true power, self-made, self-sustained, self-disciplined. There's a certain peace that comes from knowing you don't need the noise. You don't need the attention. You don't need to be seen to be strong. Your power doesn't depend on being acknowledged. It depends on being authentic, being real with yourself, owning your flaws, working on them in private, growing in silence, and then when the time comes, stepping into the world, not needing approval, but bringing value, bringing presence, bringing a kind of energy that only comes from someone who has been through the fire alone and didn't let it burn them down, but let it forge them into something unshakable. You see, walking alone doesn't mean you're lonely. It means you are willing to go where others won't. It means you are willing to trust your vision when no one else sees it. It means you are willing to be misunderstood, doubted, even criticized because you know where you're going. It means you've chosen growth over comfort, discipline over distraction, purpose over popularity. And that choice, day in and day out, adds up. It compounds into something powerful. It becomes momentum. It becomes progress. It becomes the very thing that separates leaders from followers, doers from dreamers, winners from spectators. And yes, people will question you. They will wonder why you're so distant, why you're so focused, why you've pulled back from the crowd. Let them wonder. Let them talk, because while they're watching, you're working. While they're gossiping, you're grinding. While they're wasting time, you're building. That's the power of being alone. You're not wasting energy on the noise. You're directing it inward, turning it into something meaningful, something lasting. You're not wasting. Energy unleashed on them. It demonstrates how equanimity is in the masculine. You start to realize that solitude is not a punishment. It's a gift. It's a space for clarity, for reflection, for strategy. It allows you to filter out the opinions that don't matter, to silence the doubts that aren't yours, to connect with your vision in a way that no external force can shake. You begin to see the value in moving quietly, in working silently, in letting your results make the noise. Because when you show up with excellence, with mastery, with results that can't be denied, you don't need to say much. People see it. People feel it. That's real power, when your presence speaks louder than your words. Being alone also teaches you self-respect. You start to respect the time you invest in yourself, the energy you pour into your craft, the boundaries you set to protect your peace. You stop giving your time away carelessly. You stop letting anyone into your space who doesn't bring value. You learn to protect your energy like it's the most valuable currency you have, because it is. And in doing so, you become more intentional, more focused, more powerful. You no longer seek external validation because you've validated yourself. You've seen what you can do alone. You've felt the power of getting through your worst days without a crutch. That self-trust becomes unbreakable. That's the kind of confidence no one can give you and no one can take from you. It's rooted in truth. It's rooted in experience. And when you finally step into the world with that kind of power, you move differently. You speak with conviction. You act with purpose. You lead with integrity. You're not trying to impress. You're not trying to compete. You're simply expressing the work you've done in silence, the strength you've built in solitude, the vision you've held when no one else believed in it. That's why being alone is a power, because it teaches you everything the crowd can't. It teaches you to depend on yourself, to believe in yourself, to lead yourself. It teaches you to build quietly, to move strategically, to live intentionally. It gives you the space to grow, to evolve, to become. And once you understand that, once you embrace the power of being alone, you stop chasing the crowd and start creating your own path. So as you walk your journey, remember this: the power you seek is not out there, it's in you, in your discipline, in your vision, in your ability to keep going when it's hard, when it's quiet, when no one's watching. That's where the power is. That's where greatness lives, in the silence, in the solitude, in the decision to keep going. Alone, but never weak. Alone, but never lost. Alone and powerful, always.